Hi guys, today I'm going to take a couple minutes to show you how to find your measures of central tendency, your mean, your median, and mode from a grouped frequency table, right? So last time we learned how to take the data and find the mode. We just counted up which one was the most common. To get the median, we had to list them in order and cross out until we got to the middle one. And then we got the mean just by adding them all together and dividing by the total number that there were. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit different with a grouped frequency table. Now we're going to have to make some assumptions, and I'll kind of explain those assumptions as we go. Okay, but basically, you'll remember this. You did this for homework a couple of nights ago. You have 30. This is sumo wrestlers. The amount of time it took for a sumo wrestling match to finish. All right, so this shows that there were 37 wrestling matches that were completed in between 0 and 20 seconds. Okay, there were 62 matches that were between 20 and 40, and so on and so forth. 4 matches that took between 140 and 160 seconds. All right, there's a total of 200 matches. Now, because there's 200, this is a reason why a group frequency table is going to be really, really helpful, because that way we don't have to list all 200 numbers, we don't have to add them all, we don't have to cancel from the beginning to the end, right? So a lot of reasons why a group frequency table is what we want here if we're looking at general information. Unfortunately, the problem with this, of course, is that we don't actually have individual data points. It doesn't tell us that the lowest time was 15 seconds. The next time was 16 seconds. There were 3 16s, so it's grouped in these ranges. So I know that there were 37 matches that were between 0 and 20 seconds, but other than that, I don't know anything else about those 37 matches, okay? So we'll talk about a couple of them. We'll start with our mode. Mode is easy, though in this case, because it's not a single number, we're going to call it the modal class. Okay? And the modal class is just the mode. It's the class or the group or the range that has the most often occurrence. And in this case, that would be the 20 to 40 seconds. So the modal class would be 20 to 40 seconds. You can write it this way if you want, or you can say 20 to 40 seconds, right? Any of those would be acceptable ways of saying that the modal class is this one. That's the one that happens most often, okay? So not too bad there, all right? Where did I go? Just kidding, I'm still here. We're going to move on to the next group, which is the median, all right? So, median. You'll remember that the median before was the middle number of the group, and actually sometimes it was between two numbers, right? If I had an even number of terms, then it was between the middle two. All right, so now we just need to figure out where is that middle number or those middle numbers for this situation. Okay, now this one's a little bit easier to think about because there's 200 numbers. If there's 200 numbers, that means I got 100 over here and 100 over here, and so the middle is just between those two hundreds, right? So it's the 100th number and the 101st. Think about it this way. You got a whole bunch of numbers, right? So you've got 100 numbers here, and then you've got 100 numbers over here. So the middle is right between number 100 and number 101. Okay, now another way to think about that is there's actually a formula which you can use, which is you take the number here, the 200, the total number. So take 200, okay, 200. You're going to add 1 every time you add 1, and then divide by 2. 200 plus 1 is 201. Divide by 2 gives us 100.5, which you'll notice 100.5 is right in between 100 and 101. So this is the term I'm looking for. If that said 97, then I'd be looking for the 97th number in my sequence. But because it says 100.5, I'm going to look at the 100 for the 100.5 number. All right? So the 100.5 number, if I'm looking here, is we start with 37. So there's 37 of them there. Then we go to 62. So 37 plus 62. 37 plus 62 is 99. So the 99th term here. So the 100th term is right here. It's in this group. All right. The 101st term is also in this group. The first one of these is 100. The next one is 101. So that means the 100.5 is right in between those two. And so we know it's in this group right here. Now, because we don't actually have those values, what we actually do is for each of these categories, we need to find a mid-range value, okay? And this is going to be the answer to both our median and the mean, which we're going to do in just a minute. All right, so we're going to erase this. We're going to say, all right, we need our mid value, okay? So here we go. We need the mid value for each of these. Right now, all I need is the mid value of the range that I'm looking for. Halfway between 40 and 60 is 50. Now, that was an easy one because it's 40 and 60. If it's not easy numbers, then just add them together and divide by 2. Find out what's right in the middle of those two numbers. All right, so 50. Now, because 50 is the mid-range, our assumption, and I told you we're going to make some assumptions, our assumption is that all of the values in this range are 50. Because on average, they are. You're going to have some that are less, some that are more, some that are somewhere in the middle. So on average, they're going to be about 50. They're going to average out to 50 at least. And so therefore, when we say the median is our 100.5 term between term 100 and 101, we're assuming that all of these between 40 and 60 are 50. And so we're going to make the assumption for now that the median is 50. Now, next class, I'm going to teach you how to use a cumulative frequency diagram, and that's actually going to give us a much better estimate of the median here. And we'll talk about some other things with that as well. We're going to get into box and whisker plots and some fun things like that. But for now, we're just going to say, okay, it's about 50, okay? Now, the reason why I bring this up is because the next step, when we're finding the mean, is going to require us to do all of them, find the mid-range for all of them, okay? So the mid-range from 0 to 20, add those two together, divide by 2, I get 10. The mid-range from 20 to 40, add those together, divide by 2. 20 plus 40 is 60, divided by 2 is 30. And so you should be able to go through and fill out each of these mid-ranges, right? This mid-range would be 70, this would be 90, this would be 110, this would be 130, and this would be 150. All right, go ahead and work those through by yourself. Make sure you're comfortable with coming up with those mid values because that's going to be important to us finding the mean, okay? Now, as we find the mean, remember usually what we do for the mean is we just add them all up and divide by how many there are. Now, because we don't have the individual values, we're going to have to do this slightly different. We're going to say that there are 37 in this group, but like I said before, we're going to assume that they're all 10s. Okay, now is that a good assumption? Maybe, maybe not, but we hope that some of them are going to be less than that and some are going to be more, and so it'll end up evening out. All right, so we're going to say that there's 10 in that first group. So that means I have 37 10s. Now I could go 10 plus 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 37 times, but I can't say that many plus 10s without messing up. So I'm pretty sure I can't type them that many times without messing up. So what I need to do instead is just say I need 37 10s. So 37 times 10, okay? Now I'm going to have 62 30s. Again, this is an estimate. We're guessing that the mid-range is 30, therefore on average they're about 30, so 62 30s. So I need to add on 62 30s, okay? We add on 46 50s, and so on and so forth. We add on 25 70s. We add on 11 90s. We add on 9 110s, right? All the way up, 6 130s, and 4 150s, right? We're just saying that I have this many of this group, and I'm assuming this group is this average, okay? Now, once I have that, then I'm going to go ahead and sum them all up, punch in your calculator, bleep, 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 bleep. And then when I get that number, all of this is the sum of all the values, so I'm going to divide by how many there are, 200. I want you to go ahead and try that. When you finish, what you should get is you should get the average being about 48.2. Okay, so go ahead, work that out, make sure it makes sense, be able to find the mean from a grouped value table. With this, hopefully you'll be able to do 2 or 3 of these tonight. Let's say 3, just to make sure that we're comfortable with it. So try 3 of these tonight and make sure that you're good with it and that you're able to find the mean, median, and modal class given a combined frequency table.